Ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing news. Unfortunately, not many people are talking about this. Everyone should be focused on this. All 74 million supporters of President Trump should be focused on this in the same manner that Democrats would obsess over this new information. President Trump, and it's not being discussed, and this is one of the few channels that is actually addressing this amazing development. President Trump has now ordered complete declassification, or he's now given John Durham the ability to declassify any document he wants for any grand jury probe. So a grand jury was obviously used with Kevin Clinesmith. Kevin Clinesmith is an FBI agent that pled guilty and was indicted for crimes that actually have to do with setting up and framing President Trump. He didn't just lie about an email that has nothing to do with, Trump-Russia, which was completely fabricated. Because they didn't get anybody on conspiring alongside Russian intelligence officials, which was the main allegation. They got people on process crimes. Oh, you forgot an email? You forgot the date of an email you sent somebody? Okay, you lied to the FBI. You're going to the big house. No. Clinesmith was indicted on deliberately falsifying documents simply to deceive judges. Now, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of these people are not off the hook. In fact, they have to worry more. They have to concern themselves more with John Durham's special counsel than they do with William Barr. Definitely. Well, Jeff Sessions was basically working for the Democratic Party. But hit subscribe right now to this channel. Tell your friends about this channel. Click on all notifications. Make sure your cell phone allows notifications from YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, let's get to 200,000 subscribers. The algorithm issue hit this channel like it did every other channel, but because of you, I think we're back up on the upswing. So get this segment viral. It's very, very important. It's something that everyone should discuss. In addition to the 36-page Peter Navarro report, the White House report, that Democrats would obsess over if the tables were turned, and everything else that we're talking about. But here, this is from the executive order signed just yesterday. Everyone should be talking about this. On October 19, 2020, the Attorney General appointed Mr. Durham to conduct that investigation pursuant to the powers and independence afforded by the special counsel regulations of the Department of Justice. So the beginning of the executive order talks about the Durham probe turning into a criminal probe, then turning into a special counsel. So this is just like Mueller's special counsel, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when social media and Democrats was, it's Mueller time, and then they, it fizzled out into, well, the evidence was insufficient to charge anyone for conspiring alongside Russian intelligence because it never happened. They used a dossier that was purchased by Clinton that said an American president enjoyed bodily fluids raining down upon him. Then they complain about democracy being tarnished. They used gossip from an ambassador, which is exactly why George Papadopoulos was pardoned. And they made up and fabricated everything. And when it's James Clapper, they worship every word. When it's John Radcliffe saying, Caligula's Biden's son Caligula, that's not Russian disinformation. He just has a substance abuse issue and literally left a laptop with incriminating emails about pay-to-play schemes. Because Biden went into the vice presidency with like $300,000 and came out with $10 million to $12 million. How does that happen? But we couldn't talk about that, just like we can't talk about certain things. Or we can talk about it, but it has to be like through charades and everything else. But here, this is extremely important. In a memorandum of May 23, 2019, I directed the heads of elements of the U.S. intelligence community as defined in 50 U.S.C. 3003 and the heads of each department or agency that includes an element of the intelligence community to assist the Attorney General in connection with that review and authorize the Attorney General to declassify, downgrade, or direct to declassification or downgrading of information or intelligence that relates to his review. In addition, the Attorney General is authorized to use classified information as he deems necessary in connection with this review, including in a grand jury or other proceeding. So he doesn't, they use the Attorney General, but they really mean John Durham, because John Durham is independent now of any Attorney General for the next 4 years. He's completely independent. He operates, because he is a special counsel, he operates like a special counsel. And his mandate, according to lawfare, is sweeping and broad and all-encompassing. So any crime associated at all, even if it's Caligula's son Biden. So if we find out during the probe that James Comey and Clapper and Brennan and Strzok and McCabe were hiding information detrimental to Caligula, Biden's son, it's game over from a legal sense. Durham is going to indict them. Now you say, well, it's not going to happen. It might not happen. The indictments, this is very, I am completely skeptical now. They might not happen, but they also might happen in the form of lower level officials like Kleinsmith. That also leads to Comey and McCabe. The most important issue that I keep telling people is the acquisition of evidence. And 2022, the House, once it's taken over by people like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz and Mike Kelly and Devin Nunes, you have a renewed sense of purpose. Paul Ryan, for the first 2 years of President Trump's administration, was just like Mitt Romney, who was just like Jeff Sessions. The Republicans worked against President Trump. There's never been a politician in the United States of America that had to deal not only with his own party in such a manner, but also media and the opposition. Trump basically Trump went up against the entire planet. And he still achieved record low unemployment and a whole bunch of other achievements. Record low unemployment, first president to step foot in North Korea, First Step Act, USMCA, just a whole bunch of going up against the same people that set him up and framed him, corrupt intelligence officials. But here, general provisions, nothing in this memorandum shall be construed to impair. Okay, so this is pretty awesome. The authority in this memorandum shall terminate upon the conclusion of the special counsel's investigation, unless expressly extended by the president. In addition, the authority of the Attorney General under May 23rd, 2019 memorandum is hereby extended to the special counsel's investigation. So it's pretty amazing. And you can look at a Washington Examiner article. Trump gives Barr and Durham power to present classified information to grand jury in Trump-Russia investigation. So you have, ladies and gentlemen, a pretty enormous, classified information. So Durham can look at something, and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper and Comey and Brennan can say, well, this is classified. You can't, I can't really tell you it's classified. They can be interviewed yet again or interrogated yet again by congressional Republicans, and they can hide behind, that's classified, sir. I can't tell you, because a lot of times what the intel community does, the wonderful community, is that they classify information that's embarrassing or incriminating, and they say, national security. And now they can't do that. Because you have Durham being allowed now to declassify anything and give the declassified information to a grand jury, which usually doesn't happen. The issue is not only indictments, okay? Because justice not only comes from potential indictments, but also the acquisition of evidence, like I said, gathering evidence, so that in 2022 and 2024, when Republicans rally around and defend the 74 million supporters of President Trump, what Trump created, and ensure that this doesn't happen again to an American president, they can then use this as fuel for future investigations that could lead to future indictments. So it's not just the special counsel. It's the special counsel that leads to future investigations, just like what Democrats did with Trump. They said, we found nothing, but there's Michael Cohen. And Michael Cohen's testimony is going to lead to the Southern District of New York. So it's that type of thing. With what they have against Trump, it's complete nonsense. Michael Cohen's testimony is being used to go after Trump by the Southern District. The Southern District of New York is an extension of the Democratic Party. Literally. They find nothing when it's the Clinton Foundation. Gosh, we investigated, the hundreds of millions of dollars that flowed through a foundation simply because they couldn't be stuffed inside the pockets of Bill and Hillary. That's nothing. We found nothing. But we know what? Michael Cohen testified, and we're going to go after Trump. But the problem is they impeached Trump on things that had nothing to do with a crime. So the hilarious thing is that Michael Cohen testified before impeachment, which was before the pandemic, which completely blindsided people like Cuomo and Democratic governors. They're the reason why their states have suffered so much, not Trump. But that's another story. But you look at, and they didn't indict President Trump on anything to do with a criminal statute. They did not indict President Trump on a criminal statute because he committed no crime. They indicted Bill Clinton on perjury and obstruction of justice. Okay, perjury is a crime. Obstruction of justice is a crime. Abuse of power and abuse of Congress, or what was it? The two statutes. Those are not crimes. Those are subjective. There's a subjective allegations. There's abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Obstruction of Congress. Every president obstructs Congress, and every president could be accused of abuse of power. So they couldn't find an actual criminal statute that Trump broke. They impeached him on an ellipsis, which was complete nonsense. That we eventually found out that there's an investigation ongoing. Could you imagine during impeachment if we knew? Like William Barr should have, my God almighty, he should have informed the entire world. Could you imagine during impeachment? I don't know if he could have, or if he knew, or he should have. Somebody should have. There was an investigation into Biden's son Caligula since 2018 in Delaware, and then now the FBI is involved. Could you imagine if we knew this when they were impeaching President Trump, and there wouldn't have been an impeachment? And it just look at the kind of apoplectic. Check out this Axios article. They're talking about why President Trump pardons people. Well, George Papadopoulos, for example, should have been pardoned. He needs to pardon Julian Assange, and he'll be a hero for the rest of time. But why does he pardon? Because he can. As Jonathan Swan has explained, Trump loves pardons for the same reason he relishes executive orders. Pure power and instant gratification. Look at that. With President Obama, when President Obama fired top general during his administration, Stanley McChrystal, you had, and it was based on, he fired a top general simply because of gossip from a Rolling Stone article. Okay, or journalism, whatever gossip and journalism are now synonyms nowadays. And everyone said, gosh, President Obama had to, because, there's the civilian and military divide, and, President Obama is a civilian, and the civilians control the military, and so we have to, and he did the right thing, When Trump pardons people, a pardon, he relishes it, just like the executive orders, because instant gratification, he gets to undo what other people have done. Like he gets to undo what other people have done to ruin the lives of others. So he's pardoning people. Bill Clinton pardoned somebody on the FBI's most wanted list. Mark Rich, he was a fugitive. He literally pardoned a man who was overseas, fugitive, running from the law, and was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. So, let's just look it up right now really quickly. Mark Rich, FBI most wanted. Let's see. So, hold on one second. Mark Rich, businessman who was named on the FBI's most wanted. So, his name appeared on the FBI's most, even though his name appeared on this is Forbes. This is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. So Democrats they're the ones who live in an alternate reality, and they get away with their alternate reality. Nearly 2 decades later, Rich found himself in the headlines once again, even though his name had appeared on the FBI's most wanted list. was pardoned in 2001. Wow. Alongside the man who, jeez. I can't even give you the person's name, but, it's interesting. It's really interesting. So, Rich was pardoned in 2001. It's unbelievable. This is Forbes. Nearly 2 decades later, Rich found himself in the headline, even though his name had appeared on the FBI's most wanted list. He was a fugitive, and he was living out of the country. Those donations were investigated by the FBI. Okay. And then, of course, the case was closed in 2005 after finding that the donations did not influence the pardon. Yeah, of course it didn't influence the pardon. Nothing in the money that Democrats receive never influences anything. It's unbelievable. So that's why, like, it's. I don't know what standard they use to find out. So this is a Forbes article. The man was on the FBI's most wanted list at one point. And he was a fugitive from the law, running on the run, and Bill Clinton pardoned him. Okay. So, spare us the apoplectic, seething, fuming. I mean, and then Jonathan Swan, I'll never forget this. Jonathan Swan is the same quote-unquote journalist who goes to Trump, ambushes him in an interview, would never do this to Biden. Never. He would embrace and go so far up Biden's rear end that he'd come out of Biden's mouth. But Jonathan Swan goes, I don't understand. The per capita rate. Yeah, the highest per capita rates, Mr. Swan, look at the New York Times statistics, are in Democratic-run states. Interestingly enough, the most populous Democratic-run states, kind of like New York and New Jersey. So if other countries, Germany or South Korea or other countries, had Cuomo leading a sizable percentage of their population, they too would have a higher per capita rate. The highest per capita rates and the highest numbers of aggregate lives lost are in Democratic-run states. Almost always 7 to 8 out of 10 of the top 10 in the entire country. So you can look at the per capita rates right now. It's either 6 or 7 or 8 of the top 10. It's consistently been about 7 to 8 of the top 10 states in terms of per capita rates pertaining to the pandemic of lives lost. So, and then he says, oh, well, we're not doing well in terms of the per capita rate. It's like, yeah, because you have Democratic governors presiding over catastrophes. And it's interesting how liberals, apoplectic liberals who have lost the ability to reason and lost critical thinking skills, if they ever, that's assuming they had these skills to begin with. They don't realize that governors have done what these governors have wanted to do, regardless of Trump saying, hey, let's open up the economies or whatever. They're the ones who've continued every single failed policy. And then when their failed policies, don't work, and everyone is bartering gold for toilet paper, then they say, it's a mutation, gosh, it's really bad. Oh, it's Trump's fault. It was Trump, it's Trump's fault. It's like, no, we listened to you. All the governors make the calls. You think that Trump has any say in what happens in New York or New Jersey or California? He has no influence at all. Yet you have Democrats and liberals saying, oh, Trump's fault. No, it's the fault of your governor, number one, and then very likely your mayor. Or whatever you want to blame somebody, blame the people who actually run the laws that you have to abide by within your city or within your state. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. This is actually a pretty awesome development. And it's something that needs to be really people need to be passionate about this, even though there's skepticism, because one of the biggest issues, or one of the consequences that everyone feared when if Trump didn't go 2 terms, was Comey, Strzok, McCabe, and Clapper, and Brennan, all of them just free and off the hook, and that hasn't happened now. So that's a good thing that Barr did. There are bad things that Barr's done, but there's some good things that he's done. There's zero good things Sessions has done. Zero. Sessions was the worst attorney general of all time. The evil Keebler elf. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Tell your friends about this channel. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is on hagoodman.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'll be back, of course, 3 to 4 times more today. Thank you.